Alrighty, well, it's story time again. I'm going to tell you a story now about another situation that I found myself in, and there's a kind of a kooky woman involved in this story too, and yet another experience, I guess, that I've had. But when I worked for the auctioneer, we had to go up to a job in Little Italy in Ottawa. You know how different cities have different neighborhoods, they'll have Chinatown and Little Italy and all that. Well, there's a neighborhood in Ottawa called Little Italy anyway. And obviously it's kind of an Italian neighborhood. And anyway, we had to go do this job in this house. And basically what we were doing is we were clearing out the house. An elderly man had passed away, and it was our job to clear out the house anyway. My boss had bought the contents of the house. So we go up there. The streets in Fruvaire are very narrow, and it was in the winter time, and there were snowbanks, big, huge snowbanks that hadn't been cleared away. So it was very limited where you could park. Well, anyway, this was one of these row-type housing type deals where we were. This guy's house was on the end of the road. A fellow who passed away, his family, the family was hired us, or basically sold all the goods to my boss to be cleared out. And anyway, we get there and there's nobody around. And we're driving this massive white van, and there's no place to park it. So we parked across the driveway to the complex is what we did, because there was no other opening in the snowbank. And now we're sitting there waiting, and we're waiting, and nobody's around. We went to the door of the house, and nobody. My boss called the key holder, who was the son of the man who had passed away. Eventually that guy showed up. It was 2 hours later. In the meantime, this is a neighborhood where everybody watches everything and everybody knows everything that goes on. And we had people taking pictures of the big white van with their cell phones. We had people on their phone eyeing the white van up when we're sitting there, We had all that happen. And we're sitting there for a couple, and then we had somebody, of course, we were idling the van too because it was cold. It was wintertime. So we were idling the van for heat. And we had one guy come to the van there and rip a strip off us for destroying the environment by idling the big van and wanting to know why we were there and all the rest of it anyway. Had another guy come and give us heck because we were blocking the driveway. So we moved the van thinking he wanted to pull in there, but he didn't. He just wanted to give us heck for blocking the driveway, that's all. So we ended up going back to where we were because there was no place to park, really. Anyway, we eventually got in. It was a couple hours before the key holder showed up, and then he didn't have the key. So we had to go back to some place to get the key. This was the next thing. So that was another half hour of waiting before we got the key. Well, once we got in there, and I seen this quite a few times when I was doing this job, the family had ransacked the place. They had literally just thrown everything into one end of each of the room. In each room it was like that. They just ransacked the place. So everything was all piled up with everything else, and there were things that were smashed, and it was an awful mess anyway. But they ransacked the place looking to take anything of value they could find. Now, I'm a pretty good snoop, and I know where people will hide things. I ended up finding a tin wash pail full of change. And in Canada, we have $1 and $2 coins, so it adds up. It was full of $1 and $2 coins, loonies and toonies, we call them. There's a loon on the picture of the one. That's why we call it a $1 coin. That's why we call it a loonie. And then lots of, nickels, dimes, quarters, etc. On the way home, the boss's son, who was with us, started counting the money. And he stopped at, I think it was $2,000 he was up to, and he stopped, and he had barely made a dent in this pail of change. Anyway, I found that it was hidden in behind a hot water heater. That's where it was hidden. So I'm thinking maybe one of the family members found it when they were ransacking the place and didn't want to share with the others. And so it hid it there and planned to come back for it. Anyway, we got in there, we got it all cleared out. Well, that night, I'm talking to one of my friends, a female friend, and I'm telling her about the kind of day we had, in this neighborhood with all these people that were mad at us for being there, and about the state that the house was in that we cleared out and whatnot, what had gone on there and everything. And when I got to the part about the key holder showing up finally, she says, "What kind of shoes was he wearing?" Well, I mean, I had no idea. I didn't pay any attention to his feet. It was winter time, so I'm guessing he was wearing some sort of footwear, but I really didn't notice. It didn't register with me, Never thought I'd be asked about it. If I'd known there was going to be a quiz later, I guess I would have retained that information, but anyway, I didn't know. At that time, what shoes the guy was wearing was the least of my concerns. We had a job to do, and we were unable to get into the place to do it. That's what was concerning me. Didn't really care much about what shoes he was wearing, or what kind of coat he was wearing, or what day is his birthday, or is he married, or, what does he do for work, or what. I didn't care. Just let us in the damn house so we can do our job, So, I mean, anyway, bottom line is, this woman, this friend of mine, was furious with me because I didn't know what kind of footwear the guy had on. Like, really mad at me about that. Like I should have somehow retained that or something. I don't know. Anyway, just one of the many experiences I've had through life that just, I don't know, you just shake your head and you wonder sometimes. That's it anyway. That's another story to add to the annals, I guess, of stories that I have to tell. Anyway, we did manage to get the place cleared out, and we managed to get home and get all unloaded. It was after dark before we got finished for the day, but we did get it done, and it was a little frustrating sitting there and having people eyeing us up and taking pictures and making phone calls and coming and confronting us because they didn't like us idling the van, or because we were parked where we shouldn't have been, or whatever, or demanding to know who we were and why we were there, But we got through it. It was just one of those days. That often happens when you do that kind of work, and it's just part of the job. And, when you're dealing with people, things often don't go smoothly, and that was a case where things just didn't go very smoothly, that's all. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you're all having a good day so far, and Rocky and I will see you later. Bye-bye.